This is the track route. Point A is Halls Gap. Point B, Mount William. Point C is Silverband Road. Point D, Stony Creek Track. Point E, Rosea Track. Point F is the Glenelg River Road. Point G, Siphon Road. Point H is the Goat Track. And point I is Billamina Rock Art Site and Marnia Rock Art Site, where we'll spend the night, ending part one of our Grampians tour.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Grampians National Park, Garryword National Park. We've got an action-packed couple of days coming up for you. This is part one. None of this is pre-planned. There is no script. There is no written word. It's all about just going to the places that I have always loved to go and showing you those places. Some are lookouts, some are rock art sites, and others are just scenery and four-wheel driving. So it's going to be a mashup, a bit of a combination of all of those things. We're halfway up the summit of Mount William. We're going to go up the top and get some footage from up the top and show you the scenery from the Mount William lookout. Then we're going to go over the Serra Range into the Victoria Valley and check out the Fertility Shelter rock art site, Billamina rock art site and Marnia rock art site. And that'll be the end of part one. And part two, we'll head up to the northern part of the Grampians, or Garryword National Park. See you soon. Hey guys, what's up? We're about to visit our first rock art site on our rock art tour of the Grampians. This is Gunungadara. Its European name was Fertility Cave. It has no real meaning. There's no fertility stories at this site. There's a number of motifs, some humanoid anthropomorphic figures, kangaroo tracks and emu tracks, and some telemarks as well. I'll talk about the telemarks a bit more at Billamina. The art is typically made from red ochre, and red ochre is mixed with animal fat or egg yolk, emu egg yolk, creates an adhesive which goes onto the sandstone wall. So we'll check out the motifs, and I hope you enjoy. This is Gunungadara rock art site. It's a really cool site. People moved into Gunungadara shelter from Billamina shelter, which is about 2 kilometres down Cultivation Creek, Yali Creek, and they moved from shelter to shelter through these creek corridors. So it's pretty clear that the protective barricade is an eyesore, but unfortunately this is best practice heritage management in terms of avoidance of harm to the cultural heritage. So you can see some of the paintings on the back wall of this shelter. They're quite faded. There's a kangaroo prints, emu prints,
These places are really physical reminders of the cultural lives of Aboriginal people and their ancestors, and a special connection exists between these places and Aboriginal people today. And this connection really underpins the high significance of these places for Aboriginal people. And of course, the artwork is connected to Aboriginal people, but it's also connected to the landscape. So it has natural value, and these landscapes include natural waterways and vegetation. They're all integral to the cultural landscape in which Aboriginal society developed over many, many thousands of years.
I'm on my way up to Billamina art site, and I've just seen an unusual rock and stopped to have a closer look and noticed some art on this one. Once again, it's north facing, protected from the southwest from weather, and it's interesting because it's got two figures here. Make of that as you will. Maybe it's someone's house. I don't know, but certainly unprotected site. About 30 metres off the track, so that's important. It's not going to have a lot of tourist pressure, but I don't know if you can see it. I will zoom in. There's two anthropomorphs here, and there's some additional art further up the rock face. So there really is stuff everywhere here. Lots of art, lots of artefacts. We found some artefacts just down there on the walk from the path to here that I'll show you, probably connected or associated with this art site. So people were here manufacturing or retooling their stone tools, but also leaving a mark of their history in this place, almost like a snapshot in time.
So a real issue in rock art studies is image recognition, and I've talked about two anthropomorphs or human figures here, but it may not represent that. They may be dreamtime beings, they may be spirits. So it's really difficult to say with certainty what a lot of rock art does actually represent. The shelter itself faces north, so once again it does provide protection from the southwest, and directly adjacent to the face of the site are some silkrete artefacts. Silkrete as a stone raw material type was widely used across Australia. It's a hard siliceous stone, and it's really rare everywhere else in the world except for South Africa. The silkrete can be grey and red, brown, yellow in colour, and artefacts have been specifically selected for aesthetic or symbolic reasons. There's a couple of flakes on the ground surface here. It's quite coarse-grained material. You can see the large prismatic quartz grains, making it probably not highly sought after stone raw material for artefact manufacture, but you've got to remember that the Grampians are predominantly sandstone, limestone, and there's not a lot of suitable stone raw material such as quartz and silkrete. There's a couple of flakes just here. So really any stone that produces a good cutting edge maybe would have been sought after and suitable given a lack of stone generally in the locality. And this silkrete would have been brought in to the Grampians region and would have been flaked with a larger stone made into these flakes, and these flakes have sharp cutting edges and would have been used to cut kangaroo skins, process plants, and other such daily activities as well. So we've really got a site here that's got rock art, shelter, and there's evidence of stone tool manufacture as well. So it really is an articulated living space in the Victoria range of the Grampians.
We're at Yarwi Yarli Falls. There's two groups that I know of, Jutwarung and Yarwi Yarli, who inhabited the Grampians. There were likely others as well, but I'm not sure what those groups are called. I know there's definitely some overlap with different tribes because of the importance of the Grampians, particularly in winter, but also in summer. It's day 2 of summer. Australia's in drought. The plains haven't got any water in them at all. You can see behind me there's a reliable waterhole, and there's water coming down Yarwi Yarli Falls into that waterhole. So this would have provided a really important resource for people in the Victoria Range in the past. People inhabiting Wilhelmina would have come down here for their water. Wilhelmina Rock Shelter is an art site about 500 metres up the hill from here. This is where they would have got their water. This is where they would have moved between rock shelters along creek corridors. So it's a really super important area. So we're at Wilhelmina Rock Art site in the Victoria Range in the Grampians. Amazing site, this one. Probably the best, unequivocally the best rock art site in Victoria. Anthropomorphic figures, people, lots of tally marks counting certain things, whether it be seasons or days before moving to the next shelter, or whether it be counting days where kangaroos move. There's a number of tally marks through this whole shelter, certainly indicating the passing of time for something. And there's some amazing red ochre figures, which I'm going to show you. If you want to get to the Grampians, come up and have a look at this stuff. It's all really accessible, 2-wheel drive. And I've been here for 2 days, haven't seen anyone, haven't passed another car. So if you're after some seclusion, come on a crappy day, midweek, and you won't see anyone. And you can get to experience some of these fantastic places by yourself. Don't have a lot of information on these figures. Certainly humanoid, anthropomorphic. In nature, it's 2 people there clearly. There's some kangaroo and emu feet. And if you can see them, there's copious amounts of these tally marks. There's a kangaroo and emu. Some more prints. And if you can just see all these hundreds of tally marks. It's up here as well. You can see them. Certainly counting something, no idea what. Maybe counting the days so they get out of jail. Maybe it was a bad winter. There's the full relief, the rock face. Quite an extensive site. It does go on. There's another anthropomorph here. There's tally marks I was mentioning earlier. Into the main. Hundreds of these. Surely it must be counting days, seasons to the next move, or when the kangaroos moved again, perhaps. All speculation, but you can see them. There's numbers, and there's high numbers of them. Interesting, Wilhelmina is the only rock art site that faces south into the wind and the prevailing southwesterlies in winter, so it didn't afford the type of protection that other sites might have, but it's clearly a site that was important, had fresh water 500 metres down the hill, Yowie Yali Falls, and you can tell by the sheer amount of art here, which is all one type, red ochre, that this place was visited repeatedly. Hey, we're in the Victoria Range, Grampians National Park. It's my favourite range, the Victoria Range. It's full of diversity, it's got cool rock art sites, it's got lots of cool geology, as you can see behind me, and it's got some great four-wheel driving as well. If you're considering coming to the Grampians National Park, it's a wise choice. You'd be spoilt for options. If you're into wildflowers, head to the Mount William Plateau, the Major Mitchell Plateau, in spring. If you're into four-wheel driving, there's some great four-wheel drive tracks, easy standard. A factory wagon or ute would do pretty much all of the four-wheel drive tracks in the Grampians. Focus on the Victoria Range four-wheel drive track. It goes through the middle of the Victoria Range. I'm on that now. Rosea track is a great four-wheel drive track. Some of the footage you've seen from part one of this video is filmed on the Rosea track. There's a number of easy creek crossings, so there's a lot of diversity in that four-wheel drive track. If you're into culture, there's a great cultural hit here. There's 5 open Aboriginal rock art sites that you can visit. All are two-wheel drive accessible. There's likely thousands of rock art sites throughout this whole region, but 5 are open to the public, and they're great sites. They're well worth a visit. Halls Gap has absolutely everything you need in terms of supplies, and if you're after scenery and lookouts, head to Reed's Lookout. That's a fantastic lookout on Mount Victory Road, and also Mount William, the summit of Mount William, which you can drive to, is also a fantastic western outlook. Okay, I'm off to see some more rock art sites. We're heading down to Victoria Range Road. We're going to head to Manya rock art site pretty soon. And of course, the great thing about the Grampians National Park is there's never a bad view. This is Manya Rock Shelter, rock art site in the Victoria Range of the Grampians. It's a really important site for Aboriginal people. It's got 20,000 years of archaeology on the cave floor, emu eggshells. There's fireplaces been identified and numerous stone tools. So repeated use, likely in winter. Cave faces north. Great protection from the prevailing winds. I'll show you some of the hand stencils. So these are the hand stencils at Manya Rock Shelter. It's the back wall, 4 hand stencils there. They were made by filling the mouth with ochre, animal fat, egg yolk, emu egg yolk, which has been found in the sandy deposits of this cave, or the shelter. And then they were spat out with the hand against the wall to create the outline of the hand. I don't know if you can make it out, but there's some more stencils here for the child size. Just here we have some stick figures. There's a figure just there. It's becoming quite faded. It's panels right next to the hand stencil panel, which is just up in here. Well, I've just hiked to the summit of Mount Thackeray and back in a pair of thongs. Anything's achievable in the Grampians. If you like part 1 and you're interested in seeing part 2, head over and have a look at it, check it out. It focuses on the northern part of the Grampians. Such a diverse national park, such an awesome national park, so much diversity. If you are interested in seeing other sites around Victoria and this great country of ours, consider subscribing. There's a number of really cool places I'm going to go to over the next couple of months. So if you want to catch up on all the action as I travel to a number of archaeological sites throughout Australia, do consider subscribing. All the best and speak to you soon. Cheers.